Harvest time is fully upon us here on our little suburban homestead, which means that I am busy canning and preserving all of the things. Being able to grow fruit trees and bushes and a vegetable garden, and then being able to preserve all of that for my family is really a great way for me to help save money for my family. This week I decided to work on blackberry jam, canned peaches, as well as diced tomatoes. I started off working on some blackberry jam. I had been into the grocery store and realized there was a wonderful sale on blackberries. Unfortunately, I do not grow enough myself besides just for fresh eating to make jam. So it was wonderful to notice that these were on sale at my local store. Normally, a little quarter pint little box of blackberries would cost me in between $4 and $5, and they were on sale for just over $1. So I picked up 2 small cases of these. I am using the berry jam recipe from the Ball book to make jam today. Now I doubled the recipe. I am using 8 cups of crushed berries, and then I add 4 tablespoons of lemon juice. It calls for 14 cups of sugar, which I found to be absolutely crazy. I am not adding 14 cups of sugar to this jam, so I went ahead and added 6. After that, I am using some pectin in here just because I have it in my pantry and would like to use it up. So I bring this jam to a rolling boil, and that's when I add in my pectin. After it's in there, I bring it back up to a rolling boil, and I let it boil for a minute. Then I just turn it down a little bit, and I do let it simmer just to make sure it's a nice, thick jam. I have prepared my jars by cleaning them and getting them in hot water so they're nice and hot, so I'm not adding hot liquid to cold jars. And then I'm going to go ahead and get this jam into my jars, leaving a 1/4 inch headspace. At this point, I do have my canner going full of water. I'm going to want water to come over at least 1 inch over my jars for boiling for water bath canning. Now, if you're noticing a residue on your jars after you've canned them, this could be from calcium in the water or hard water. If you add some vinegar to your canning water, that should take care of that problem. Now, before I put my lids on, I'm going to go ahead and wipe down all of these jars. You can use vinegar. It does help to cut the sugar if there's anything on your lids, but you're definitely going to want to wash these lids. Right now, I'm also inspecting my jars to make sure that there's no cracks or impurities. You can see here, I have found one with a little chip, which means that my seal will not seal on this jar, so there's no point in me actually canning it. So I'm going to set it aside and put it in the refrigerator, and we'll just use it right away. But we are going to wipe our lids because if there's any jam left on those lids, that will impair any seal that we're going to have. I'm going to go ahead and get my clean lids onto my jars now. I have never done a blackberry jam before simply because I do not grow enough blackberries to make a jam, so I'm really excited to have some blackberry jam in our pantry. We do go through a decent amount of jam here because my kids adore peanut butter and jam on toast for breakfast. So we do go through a lot of jam, so being able to stock my pantry up to have fresh summer blackberry jam in my pantry so that we can have that and enjoy that all winter long is just so lovely. If you saw earlier, you noticed that I had canned peaches earlier in the year. That's because I have one peach tree that ripens in the end of July and then one that ripens mid to late September. So those are the peaches that I am working with right now, the ones that ripened mid-September here. So I throw all of my peaches in boiling water for just about a minute, and then I toss them in cold water. This really helps to take those skins off very easily. So if you're looking to skin peaches, just throw them in some boiling water for a minute or two, and then toss them into some cold water so that they aren't cooking and becoming mush. And as you can see, those skins just slide right off those peaches. It is so easy to get the skins off doing this. We are so blessed to have peach trees, and each year they are giving us more and more peaches to work with. I was actually able to gift peaches to some neighbors, which made me really happy that I'm now to that point where I'm getting so much fruit that I can now gift our neighbors. It really helps to build community, and I'm really appreciative of that. Not to mention that these are fully organic peaches because we do not spray or use any sort of treatment. So that saves us a lot of money. I am getting tons of free peaches that we can eat all year, and they are fully organic and spray-free. My kids are actually fairly tired of peaches at this point because they have eaten so many peaches this year. So I'm just going to go ahead and can all of these. I was going to do some blackberry peach jam and then decided that I just needed to get these into jars because some of them were starting to go off on me. So I just said, you know what, I'm going to toss them all in jars as canned peaches because I know everybody loves to eat some canned peaches in the winter and they are super easy to jar up. So after splitting these in half, I go ahead and stuff them into my quart jars. And I've just made a simple syrup for these. So I had 8 cups of water with 1 cup of sugar. And that's the liquid that I'm going to put on top of these peaches. You can can peaches with just water, but I do like just a very light syrup with them. So I can these up until about a 1/2 inch headspace. And you see that I go in with a wooden stick here and debubble. So if you have any bubbles in your peaches, then that will affect the headspace, which will also affect the seal of your jars. So you're going to want to go in with something non-metal to debubble any of your products there to make sure there's no air pockets. I go ahead and take my clean lids and put them all on my jars. I am tightening these rings fingertip tight, so I'm not like yanking those lids on there. It's just enough that my fingers can tighten them. And then I'm going to go ahead and get them into my jars. I bring the water to a rolling boil, and that's when I time these for 25 minutes. I forgot to mention with the blackberry jam, I did can that for 10 minutes once the water gets to a rolling boil. Lastly, our tomatoes are finally ripening and we have a lot of them. So I want to try canning diced tomatoes for the first time. I have never canned diced tomatoes, so I thought this would be a great project for me to do this year, as we are actually going through a lot of diced tomatoes, using them for chilies or for taco soup. So I really wanted to make some with our own homegrown tomatoes. Now, I know a lot of people will skin their tomatoes. They will also put them in boiling water and then in the cold water, and the skins come right off. However, I'm working with a lot of cherry and Tom Thumb tomatoes, which are really small. And I'm just showing you here how beautiful this tomato is. I think homegrown tomatoes and heirloom tomatoes are just the best thing ever. They're so beautiful. Anyways, I am working with a lot of smaller tomatoes, and I really just didn't want to go through the process of trying to skin all of these cherry tomatoes and Tom Thumb tomatoes. So I'm going to go ahead and can these with the skins on, but if you prefer having the skins off, you can go ahead and do that first. So I'm just cutting these up into small bite-sized pieces and tossing them all in a bowl for now so that I can pack my jars after. You can see that my husband is helping me in the kitchen today. He really loves to help can when he gets the time, so he enjoys being in there helping along with the process. So we are both attacking all of these tomatoes that we've just had all over the counter recently. So they have finished ripening inside. I like to pick them just as they're ripening up and then let them fully ripen inside so they don't split from any rain. I love being able to can my own produce because then I know exactly how the things were grown, whether they were sprayed, and how they were dealt with. Not to mention that it's just so much fresher and healthier for us that it just makes the effort of doing this so worth it. Not to mention just how much better things taste when they are homegrown and homemade. I've mentioned that so many times here on this channel that anything homegrown or homemade just tastes so much better, and it's just so much better for us. And I think we really just don't understand how limited we are with grocery store produce that is made and grown to be able to last a very long time. where when you're growing your own things, you realize exactly all the options that are available to you, which is why so many people are obsessed with heirloom varieties, like this one here. It's green with stripes, but it is fully ripe. It's called a tie-dye tomato, and they're just so delicious. So the varieties that open up to you when you can grow some of your own food are endless, and you just realize how wonderful and tasty they all are. There are so many things that I can and that I love to can, but I have to say I really did enjoy doing these diced tomatoes. They might be up there with my favorite things to can. What are your favorite things to can, and your favorite things to jar up, or your favorite things to have in your pantry to use? Mine are definitely the tomatoes, diced tomatoes and tomato sauce. I love, love, love having those there, and those are just what we use the most of. So I have gotten my quart jars ready. They are clean and warm, and I am putting in 2 tablespoons of lemon juice to each of these quarts. In my last video, the introduction on canning, I believe I discussed the lemon juice, or Rebel canning actually, and a lot of the Rebel canners don't use lemon juice or citric acid in their tomatoes, and that's fine if that's something you don't want to do. For me, I discussed the fact that I do have anxiety, and if I don't follow some of these rules, then I'm just going to sit there and mull on it and think about it and worry about it. So I'm going to go ahead and add the lemon juice to my tomatoes. But if that's not something you do, then that is fine. So I'm just taking handfuls of these tomatoes and I'm going to stuff them into the jars. I did watch somebody else, I can't remember who I was watching. Anyways, she had said that if you're not stuffing your tomatoes down enough, and this goes with pretty much everything that you're canning, that you really have to pack it down. Otherwise, your jars just end up mainly water. So I'm packing these down as much as I feel is appropriate without fully squishing these tomatoes. And then I'm just going to go ahead and add in some boiling water. Now you could add salt to these. I don't, because we will be seasoning when I'm using them. So I'm just using just the lemon juice and the tomatoes. So I am going to pack these till there is 1 inch of headspace. And of course, we are going to go in here and debubble as well, because these tomatoes can hold a lot of air pockets in them, and we do not want any air pockets. It always feels so good this time of year when I see that pantry starting to fill up again. Normally come like midsummer or beginning of summer, all the pantry has been eaten down quite a bit. So being able to add to it and bring it up to full stock again right before winter always just makes me feel so satisfied and gives me the best feeling. I know that we're prepared. I know that we have food in our pantry in case of any emergency. So it just brings a sense of comfort every time I add more jars to our pantry. So after I am done debubbling, I'm going to go ahead and wipe the lids of all these jars. Again, I am just wiping off any residue as well as checking the rims of these jars. I've had these jars for years and years, so I just want to make sure that I do not have any cracks or chips or anything going on that might hinder a seal. Again, I have my water bath canner on the stove full of water starting to boil or getting ready to boil, so that these hot jars are going into a hot canner. You're not going to want to put cold jars into a cold canner, or hot jars into a cold canner, because you really don't want to shock the jars and have them crack and break. So definitely, if you're putting boiling water into these jars, you're going to want to be putting them into a hot canner. Again, I also started off with hot jars because I did not want to put hot water into cold jars. Now I'm going to get my lids on, and I am tightening these fingertip tight. You can see I'm not cranking these on, they're just fingertip tight. Now I put this in the water and heard a little splat, but it was mainly just the air from the bottom of the curved jar. I wanted to make sure I didn't crack the jar there. And I'm just showing these jar of tomatoes. The camera really does not capture how beautiful they are. That's one thing with canning. I just notice how beautiful everything is. Once these were at a rolling boil, I timed them for 45 minutes, and then I just turned the oven off to avoid any siphoning, let them sit there for 15 minutes, and then took them out. If you're looking for any more canning recipes, make sure you hit the playlist here. I have a lot of ideas there for you. Thank you guys again so much for being here with me today. I hope you're doing wonderful, and I will see you guys next time.